Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. With me today is Sandy McLeod, Dorothy McCabe, Scott Papp, and Martin Limas. Please note all member participants are muted for the duration of the presentation. Please post comments and ask questions via the question feature on your right-hand side. We'll go through the presentation first, and we'll respond to questions at the end. We've budgeted an hour, and our updates will not take the full hour. We're leaving lots of room for our participants to ask questions. Here to respond to your comments and questions, I'm going to pass it over to Sandy McLeod.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. This webinar is going to be one of the many tools that we will be using over the coming weeks to keep industry stakeholders up to date on current events. And as we know, current events change rapidly. Just a couple of hours ago, Ontario is mandating the closure of non-essential services. Martin Limas will touch on what this might mean for us in just a little bit. Earlier today, Canada announced that withdraw from the 2020 Olympics. There's talk about mandating outdoor 2-meter distance guidelines, and the federal health minister is talking about if people don't self-isolate, that we may see forced quarantines. Business is also taking their own actions. Rogers Cable's now only offering in-home technicians if service is 100% disconnected. And we're seeing some businesses like condominiums limiting service technicians that they're allowing into their buildings. In that particular case, our sector has been considered an essential service. What we're going to do today is cover off a few things. We're going to give you a bit of an update on the current situation here at HRAI, so you know how we're functioning. We'll talk a little bit about your rights. You can ask customers to self-declare their situation if you're performing in-home or in-business services. We're going to do an in-depth review of our government relations efforts, both federally and provincially. And Scott Papp is going to talk briefly about a practical approach being taken by one of our contractor members, a case study, so to speak, which allows him to keep operating costs in alignment with revenue expectations. And of course, we will collect your thoughts and questions, discuss some of those at the end of this session, and then also post a Q&A or an FAQ online. So HRAI operations, we last week basically put a pause on education and training for the months of March, April, and May. We are offering some courses online, and that information is available on our website. The thermostat recovery program will continue to operate. ODP continues to operate. The training is now online, and all operations can be dealt with on our website in a self-serve manner. We do still have staff to handle incoming calls and outgoing mail for certificate distribution. Last week, HRAI did reduce staff. We laid off 6 people, mostly to deal with decreased workload for things like events, shows, training, and some of our membership outreach work. The remaining staff is primarily working from home and will be available should you need us. CMPX, you're well aware the show's been postponed, still working out the details. There are a number of different scenarios that we're working through, such as holding a show in 2021, moving to 2022, different combinations. And we are reaching out to exhibitors and members to get your input, and hopefully within the next 10 days to a couple of weeks, we'll be able to give you a better idea of how that's going to look. Conferences and meetings, the AGM right now is still scheduled for August, but we're watching that closely, depending on the timing of some of these Trending situations, we'll have a better sense probably in May as to what's going to happen with that. The spring symposium, which was planned for Hamilton, has been canceled, and all chapter meetings at this point are in a holding pattern. On the communications front, today the webinar is an example of one of the many ways that we'll be reaching out to you. Expect our newsletters to continue, and they may increase in frequency. Watch for HRAI push notifications. We'll be pushing those out electronically via LinkedIn, etc., social media. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, please do so. Have everyone on your staff sign up. It's free, even for non-members. It's a great way to stay up to speed on what's happening in our industry. And on our website, hrai.ca, we have a COVID-19 resource tab. You're going to hear Martin and others talk about different things that are going to be posted to the website. It's a valuable resource for you. On the government relations front, I talked about a layoff last week. That was mostly to deal with the practical workload volume that we're seeing in an operational standpoint. The government relations team remains fully intact. And as a matter of fact, will be a big component of the work that we're going to be doing in the coming weeks. With that said, I will turn the mic over to Martin.
Thank you, Sandy. As Sandy indicated, no decrease in the workload for the government relations team, other than having to work on some new priorities. HRAI has been, for the last several weeks, have been actively engaged with governments. And as one of our top priorities, a number of our members have expressed concern about the need to have industry declared an essential service. Traditionally, that terminology has been used in relation to services that are deemed sufficiently important to public safety that layoffs or strikes would be illegal. I don't think that's exactly what the industry had in mind in use of that term. Rather, the concern is about ensuring that government decision makers understand the importance of our sector and ensure that the kinds of services our members provide will be available when and if needed, particularly in relation to vulnerable populations. So we've chosen our words carefully and have communicated with every provincial premier to consider the importance of the HVACR sector to the health and safety of Canada, citing the importance of our members' work in relation to healthcare, food preservation and distribution, and keeping Canadians comfortable in their homes. Those letters have been filed with provincial premiers. You can find them on the HRAI website. There's a section dedicated to that under the COVID-19 Resource Center. And I should just add that we're working with our regional staff where available and through Impact Public Affairs to make sure that these letters and this messaging gets to all the right decision makers, not just to premiers, but the appropriate ministers and key staff that we've been engaged with in the past. Some of you might have questions about protocols or guidelines to follow when dealing with customers who are infected or show indications of having been exposed to COVID-19. HRAI has posted some general guidelines for contractors on the website, as well as some information to help consumers. But we are interested in going further, working with members if possible on solutions to these types of situations. We don't have all the answers in-house at this time. After all, if our industry says it wants to be seen as a vital service for Canadians, we must also then be prepared to provide the personnel to do the work that needs to be done. But at the same time, safety is paramount. So we want to make sure we have protocols in place to guide that type of activity. If you have thoughts on this topic, please let us know. This will be a discussion we'll be having over the next days and weeks, and hopefully not months, but certainly the next days and weeks. You may have seen that the federal government and some provincial governments have issued calls to action for manufacturers and skilled workers to assist in meeting the acute need for specific medical supplies, for example, ventilators, other medical equipment, and other types of supplies. HRAI has not acted on this call as yet, but we'll be interested to hear from members about any unique offers they might be prepared to make in assisting with this emergency supply issue. In addition to speaking on members' behalf with governments, we have appealed directly to Federal Finance Minister Bill Morneau to consider the financial hardship of trade associations like HRAI. Sandy's already indicated some of the cuts that have had to be made and the impacts in terms of events that we're trying to organize. Canceling or postponing these events has an impact on HRAI. When you think about it, social distancing is a policy that directly contradicts or works against so much of what HRAI's business is about. Bringing people together to talk, exchange ideas via chapters, PEP groups, a whole lot of other types of venues, to train in courses and to learn about new products through events like CMPX 2020 and so on. Some of this type of work can be done virtually, of course, but lots of it cannot. And HRAI, and by extension its members, will suffer financially as a result. The federal government has sent strong signals that it understands this unique form of hardship. Our letter to Minister Morneau attracted support from other government departments like Natural Resources Canada and Environment and Climate Change Canada. Some senior political staffers and bureaucrats have sent messages affirming the importance to them of keeping a viable and healthy HRAI in place to speak for the HVACR industry. In the meantime, all other issues and files have obviously taken a back seat, but we have not forgotten them. We are waiting until the new normal settles in for federal and provincial staffers who have also been compelled to work from home. We are advised that many of these staff are eager to get on with their work, so we are tentatively setting up virtual meetings as necessary. One of the clear implications of the massive federal commitment to support Canadians suffering economic hardship in these unusual times, something you'll hear about shortly from Dorothy, is that the expenditures on programs related to other government priorities, for example, climate change mitigation or trades training support that we've asked for in our budget submissions, will be postponed. In due course, however, we will return to some of these plans, and it's entirely possible, if not necessarily guaranteed, that expenditures on home and commercial building energy retrofits or upgrades will be seen not only for their energy efficiency and emission reduction benefits, but also as a form of economic stimulus, which will likely be needed to help bring the Canadian economy back to life in the wake of this pandemic. I'd like at this time to pass on the microphone remotely, virtually, to Dorothy, who will share with you some of the highlights of the actions already taken to date by the federal government. Dorothy?
Thanks, Martin, and hello everyone. So as anyone following the news in the last few days would have heard that last Wednesday, so a mere 5 days away, it feels like 5 weeks ago, the federal government came out with an unprecedented economic relief package. And as Sandy has said at the outset of this webinar, this is a rapidly changing situation with decisions made hourly. So to that point, our Prime Minister and certainly some of the premiers across the country have reiterated that the message that this is a first step, nothing is off the table, and you know, there more than likely will be more to come. So we, of course, are pleased that the government quickly has recognized the need to support particularly small businesses, particularly self-employed people, and that there have been specific references to contractors as well in the programs they're rolling out. Of course, just a note as well that the Canadian borders are closed, including the Canada-US border. That was closed on Friday night, in case anyone hadn't heard that in the news, and it's closed to non-essential travel. So just, but the commitment is to keep the supply chains open. So the first, so it's an $82 billion aid package, a relief package. $27 billion of that is directed for support for businesses and workers, families, and individuals. So the first part of the rollout of this package was directed to families and individuals, and with an increase coming in childcare benefits, the HST, and certainly big changes to the employment insurance process. And so these are programs that are already in place, which is a good thing. And so they are looking to roll that money out within 2 to 3 weeks. So the 55 billion, that was the other part of that $82 billion aid package, is focusing on freeing up access to credit for businesses and for homeowners, and freeing up credit from tax deferrals and things of that nature. So, so for instance, the tax filings are now been pushed back from April to June 2020, June 1st, 2020. Taxes, if there are taxes owed, they are going to be due after August 31st, so that's a 6-month extension. And indications are that HRAI is prepared to be flexible regarding payments. Certainly let them know in advance that that's something that you're looking for. And the banking sector, they've worked with the banking sector as well to confirm that it's commitment to work with Canadians and certainly business owners to defer up to 6 months payment deferral for mortgages and other credit products. So I would encourage you on those fronts to contact your financial institution directly for details. So that's kind of big, broad strokes about the initial aid package. Can you just move me to the next slide then? Yep, keep going. So you can click one more. There we go. So the other parts of the federal economic relief package is the government has very quickly rolling out 3 new programs and have expanded 1 existing program. So I'm going to direct your attention to the bottom of the screen, to the number at the bottom of the screen. And that's an important number for you to have, and to visit their website, because we're providing high-level overviews. You'll find the details if you contact Service Canada directly. So the programs that the government is rolling out, a temporary wage subsidy. This is a new program. It's targeted specifically to small businesses, to self-employed people and contractors, and it's equal to 10% of the salary, staff salary, for up to 3 months. The maximum per employee is $1,375, maximum of $25,000 over the 3 months to employers. So that's one new program that's rolling out. And again, they're targeting to have this up and running in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The second new program is emergency care benefit. And this is $5 billion. And it's targeted for, again, small businesses, self-employed people who typically normally wouldn't have access to employment insurance benefits. And this is to help cover people who are suddenly at home with sick family members caused by COVID-19, children who are unexpectedly out of school for an extended period of time or out of daycares, and or you're sick yourself. So this is a benefit that's going to be up to $900 bi-weekly for up to 15 weeks. So the third program that they are launching is an emergency support benefit, and it's another $5 billion. And this is for employment insurance for those who typically wouldn't qualify for employment insurance. So again, those programs are new. They're being developed very quickly, and again, funds are expected to be flowing to Canadians in 2 to 3 weeks. The program that's been expanded, one that was in existence, is the WorkShare program, and it's been expanded by an additional 38 weeks. They've waived the mandatory waiting period for this program, and the purpose here, as they've said, is to try and find a way to enable more staff to be kept on the payroll, but at reduced work hours. So this is a 3-way agreement with an employer, an employee, and Service Canada, and employees must agree to a reduced work schedule and agree to share the work over a specified period of time. So again, these are high-level overviews of what was in that relief package, and I would encourage you, even though there's wait time, to, if you have specific questions, go online and to call the number that's on the screen for more details. But we wanted to make sure you were aware that these are the initial actions that the federal government is taking. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague Scott. Over to you, Scott.
Thank you, Dorothy. As many HRAI members are experiencing work shortages, we thought we would continue to address the utilization of the federal government services. You will see that there is a dedicated Service Canada toll-free number for questions. As there is a wait time, some of you may wish to visit the canada.ca website first. Please note the following. There is no waiting period to apply for those in quarantine or in self-isolation. Topics that can be addressed on the Service Canada toll-free number include employment insurance, sick leave, vacation pay, and many other topics. While there is no sure fix to the issue of labor and shortage of work, HRAI will continue to monitor the situation and make recommendations where and when applicable. Members are invited to share any solutions that they have implemented to address this issue, and we will share them with our other members. As each member company at HRAI is different from one another, there is no single solution. One member has already shared their leave for shortage of work plan. This is a plan some members may wish to consider. In short, the plan's purpose is to attempt to maintain staff, income, continue services as required, and to help keep companies' staff safe and healthy. A summary of the leave for shortage of work plan involves the following. Placing field staff on a leave for shortage of work. A record of employment is then required from the employer. These staff then immediately apply for employment insurance. These staff then will be able to continue to work on an abbreviated basis to supplement their employment benefits. Work is then assigned by the company on an established schedule as it arises. Employees can work up to 90% of their regular work schedule, that's approximately 4.5 days a week, and still collect employment insurance benefits. Employees on this plan keep 50 cents of the employment benefits for every dollar earned. I would be happy to run through an example of this at the end of the webinar or individually with the members if they like. So our recommendation is to talk to Service Canada /employment insurance. In advance of acting on anything, you can reach them at the toll-free number on the screen. And now, Martin, over to you.
Thanks, Scott. So I'm going to talk just very briefly about what's happening at the provincial level. And I'll just preface this section, which will be quite brief, with a note that HRAI's efforts at the provincial level have been quite extensive in the last while. We have done days at the legislature in British Columbia and more recently in Ontario. These are events where we've engaged with political leaders, ministers, ministerial staff, MPPs, MLAs, as the case may be, putting them in touch with volunteers. So this has helped lay some groundwork for relationships, important relationships with key decision makers in government. They all are beginning to understand and know who HRAI is, and that's really important for us to have some influence on their decision making in the next days and weeks. So we've heard Dorothy laid out what's happening at the federal level in terms of financial support. In due course, we expect more of what matters to our sector in terms of restrictions on work to be laid out by provincial governments, and that happens. It's happening as we speak. Just this afternoon, we heard about Ontario's proposed restriction on all non-essential business services, with details to come tomorrow. We'll be following that development very closely to determine to what extent our sector's affected, and we'll act as necessary if called upon. We're going to see that provinces will be aligning programs based on the federal response to this crisis. Funding at this point is primarily directed to providing more support to healthcare systems and frontline workers, as you would expect. There is some funding and support being directed to educational services, but details of provincial and territorial aid packages aren't fully known at this stage and will be determined in the near future. HRAI will provide information to the industry as these details become available. So the situation is evolving daily. There's been a push, particularly from the head of the Public Health Canada, that federal government and all provinces and territories should be aligned in doing the same thing. It appears that the provinces are listening to that. In fact, I would almost suggest that this is a bit of an unprecedented time in Canadian political history where everyone seems to be getting along with the with a common mission in mind. Public health emergencies have now been declared in all provinces. Some were lagging a little bit, but that's now happened in every province, and the implications of that have yet to be fully realized by our sector. So as mentioned before, the details of these programs and regulations will be shared with members as they arise, so please stay tuned. As we've learned, these developments are unfolding at lightning speed. Part of our role will be to make sure that you're fully up to speed on these developments as they unfold. And where we need to provide pushback on decisions that have been made, we'll do that. On that note, I'm going to hand the mic back to Sandy McLeod. Sandy.
Thank you very much, Martin. So at this point, I would ask for any questions from any of the participants. We've got about 250 people on the webinar, so happy to take questions. So one of the questions I see, and Dorothy, I'll throw this to you. Are you positive about the 90% of work figure?
As we have been told by our employment lawyer, that the figure is 40%, meaning 16 hours if the employee typically works a 40-hour week.
So that's in the EI plan.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Scott.
Yeah.
So the question was posed by David Graham. We'll check on that, David, and I will get back to you.
There's another question here. Do you have a procedure to servicing clients' home?
Okay, you want me to answer that?
Yeah, could you?
I indicated earlier that this is something we'd like to work on with members in terms of what the best practices are. This is a little bit of uncharted territory for us at HRAI, and I'm sure it is for you as well. We did provide some basic guidelines. There's a letter that we made available to members on our resource site that basically suggests appropriate measures that should be taken by contractors and how to communicate those to your customers. It doesn't go so far to indicate what should happen in a case of, if a technician comes into a home or a building where you know that there has been illness or exposure. And that's something we'd like to work with people on in terms of developing a response for that. Of course, companies and their employees have the right to refuse entry. That's pretty much a given. But the question that people have is, what should happen if there's a no heat situation, or if there's equipment is malfunctioning, or whatever the case may be? That's the unknown kind of gray area that we want to work through and develop some protocols on. So we will, if people have ideas, if they have documents that they'd like to share, we will take a look at what we consider to be best practices, and maybe work through some committees if necessary and put them out to the industry as soon as possible. Thanks for the question.
Someone has asked about CMPX. I'll cover that again. So CMPX has been postponed. We are working through different options for CMPX, including having an event in 2021. And then if we did have an event in 2021, what does that mean to 2022? Do you end up with a 2021-2022 combination? Also looking at skipping 2020 to 2022, and also looking at odd years. So all of those things are on the table. We've got a group of people from CIPH and HRAI working on that, and hoping to have a conference call on that issue next week. I also noticed that there's a question that's been put in about the training room here at the office in Mississauga being set up to be able to offer online courses. That is in our plans. What we are doing on April the 3rd, the 6th?
Yeah, this April the 6th to the 9th, we'll be having a virtual classroom.
Now, so what we're using on that one is we're using a different site, but it'll be a very good test to determine how our current training curriculum would actually work in a webinar kind of environment. So Loretta, how many people do we have signed up for that course now?
We have 12 people.
So we have 12 people signed up now. We will continue to promote that pretty aggressively. We've got 10 days or so, roughly. And I think we're capping that one out at 20, is that correct? And mostly the instructor has asked us to cap it out at 20. Not sure if that'll be the right number in the future, but I think definitely there is an opportunity for us to move more rapidly to that space.
We have a question about, oops, sorry, I'm going to bring this over to me. We have a question about, we like to continue to serve our customers, but we are having an issue with acquiring protective gear. Can HRAI help in this matter?
Martin, any thoughts on how that might fit into the whole concept of essential service?
This is with the gear?
Gear,
yes.
yeah.
Well, there's really not much we can say other than we can explore whatever capabilities we have to reach out to suppliers and make some available. In the same line as having our industry appreciated or accepted as some form of essential service for consumers, we will work on that as being kind of part of the precursor of what's needed to make that happen. We can't make any promises, however, because we have to figure out what the sources of supply are and where we'd go to secure the kind of volume of products that the industry will need. But we'll make some effort to do that.
There's also a question here if this webinar is available online. Yes, we will have a recording of this that's going to be available for everyone to download, and it'll be on our website within about a half an hour of the event. We have another question here. Just wanted to confirm, when having an employee on leave so that they can collect EI, is this a layoff or a short-term leave? No, Scott can answer that one.
A good question. We did name the plan, the leave for shortage of work, but I do believe it is a layoff situation. So you lay the employee off and then they apply for employment insurance.
Okay, there's another question. US has said our services are deemed essential. As an FYI, workers such as workers such as plumbers, electricians, exterminators, and other service providers who provide services that are necessary to maintaining the safety and sanitation essential. Hold on, this is a long question. In resident are specifically recognized on the list, which may be viewed at, there's an email address.
So that's,
Martin can talk to this.
Well, I don't know if I can speak to it. I have not seen that. I'm not sure that's from Rob Ferris, whether that's a statement about a government statement or an industry statement. We've seen lots of industry statements that have made that declaration. I'm not certain whether the government has accepted that, but if that's what it's saying, that might give us a precedent that we could use in engaging with the federal government or provincial governments here in Canada.
Just touch again on the letters that we have sent, because we have been shipping out letters to different levels of government on this very issue. So we've been on this.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, government right now is getting inundated, but we've been very active on that file and agree completely that this industry, this sector, should be considered an essential service.
Right, so letters have gone out to all the different provincial premiers, and we are working through various channels to make sure that those messages get to all the right decision makers, ministers of health, and so on. Again, no guarantees because it's a lot of balls up in the air at this point in time, but I think the message is getting through. And like I said earlier, if the HVAC industry in some way is not exempted from restrictions on business, we'll have to act very quickly in the provinces where that happens.
So the next question.
Oh, I would just add, sorry, I just want to add quickly, in Ontario, they're going to have some more detail on that tomorrow.
Sorry, she's gonna have to repeat that.
Can you repeat that, Dorothy?
Oh, sorry, I was just saying, in Ontario, the government has said today that they'll have a list of what they deem essential and non-essential released tomorrow. So we'll take a close look at that and see how we need to react.
Right, that's the monitoring we were referring to earlier. We'll keep on top. We'll know. Again, this is a provincial level decision that will be made, so we do have to monitor what's happening in each and every province.
And Ontario is the first province, correct, that has now, is mandating
That we've
closure.
heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So even maybe some phone calls this afternoon or tomorrow morning might be in order to determine, you know, what they're thinking of, maybe even before they make the announcement tomorrow.
I think there's quite a few questions about the protective gear. Do we want to? What is the acceptable PPE for our service technicians, and how do we get it? Do we want to?
So Martin, does that follow the essential services?
Yeah, I think those are all in the same category. A list of, you know, might be helpful for members to identify what the products are that they feel they're needing, what that are in short supply, so we can assist in looking for channels of products.
One of the things we're going to do after this call is create an FAQ section on our website. So things that we don't have an answer for today that we're working on, we will indicate where we can answers. We'll also update those answers on a regular basis. And in the cases where we don't have an answer and something is pending, we'll indicate that as well. So there's a number of questions coming in right now on that very space. And I think as we find out tomorrow from specifically the Ontario government where we stand as an essential service, that will open up some opportunities there for us to give you better direction.
I've had a couple of questions about what is running on April the 6th at our virtual classroom. It's the residential air system design course. So if anyone's interested, feel free to send me a note. It's Loretta, lz@hrai.ca, but I'll send a note out about that later. Our essential services like HVAC and refrigeration for grocery stores are the office staff, sorry, I'm just trying to get, office staff supporting these individuals considered essential?
We can't answer that question. That's a question for government officials.
Although we will push on definitions.
For sure. Yeah. I suspect their recommendation or their decision will be that it's within any service company, it will be services in emergency situations, not all. Like, I don't think it will be a blanket exemption, nor is it reasonable to ask for that. But that's what we have to discover, I guess, in our conversation with the Ontario government tomorrow.
The more likely outcome for office staff is that the expectation is that those people will be required to work from home. So the closure, and again, all of this stuff is kind of a bit of a moving target, but our expectation is that the closure means people are not able to go to work and have offices open, but people will have the ability to still work from home. So anyone on the call who is still in the process of moving people to home offices should continue to do so. This looks like it will be a few weeks. I think the mandatory closure in the announcement I saw earlier was about 2 weeks, and I'm sure that will be a moving target.
I see a question from Dave Morden about contacting MPPs. Dave, this is a strategy we might need to employ. We have reached out directly to ministers and to the Premier and so on, but if they're not responsive to our submissions, it may very well be possible that we'll ask our members at ground level to talk to their local MPPs and communicate the message. We have a letter pretty much ready to go, working with our GR firm in Ottawa. They have a system to do this, to hook members up directly with their local MPPs. We can create a form letter that you really just have to submit directly. So if it comes to that, we will reach out to members and ask them to support us in delivering that message. But at this point in time, we're not sure it's necessary. We really need to wait till tomorrow to find out whether HVAC is on that list or not. So stay tuned.
Anything else, Loretta, that you need?
No, there's some repetitive questions. So I think what we'll do is we'll do a Q&A, sorry, an FAQ, and have all of this information on our site, and we'll try to get it on our site within the next 24 hours. Sandy, do you want to?
Yeah, just we'll keep this open for another minute or two. If anyone has any type of question that hasn't been tabled yet, happy to take it. So one just came in from Kim Stark on how long it will take to see individual business financial support. Dorothy, do you want to take that one?
Sure. What we know right now, thanks for the question, Kim, is that they, as I said, they're developing these programs about, very quickly, which is an unprecedented situation, as so much of this is. And the goal, though, as they said, was to get the money out to families and individuals immediately within 2 to 3 weeks. And for businesses, that would be early May, late April, early May.
Okay.
There's questions coming in about things like coming to the office to work, coming into the office to process payments. So we'll watch that more closely and keep an eye on our FAQs. At this point, our expectation is that this really means the offices are closed to the public and that the office shouldn't be staffed regularly. Clearly, businesses need to make payments. They need to accept checks. In some cases, there will be deliveries that need to be maintained. So the approach that we're taking, and we believe is still compliant, is a very small group of people that will share those tasks. So maybe 1, 2 people at any given point. We won't be open. We will not be holding business regularly. But, for instance, Martin and I both have signing authorities, so we will be here periodically to make sure those types of things are dealt with. We'll have somebody keeping an eye on any ODP types of issues that might be dropped off. And I think literally every business will still have that type of need. The concept, I think, what both the province and the city are trying to get at is they don't necessarily want businesses overstaffed or remaining open if they don't have to. So close your doors, deal with things remotely, and limit contact for people in any type of activity that they need to have in place. As this gets rolled out further, we will update our FAQ. Okay, so that looks like the balance of the questions. Loretta mentioned we are going to have this available on the website tomorrow. Watch out for ongoing communications. If you haven't signed up for our website, do it. Signed up for our newsletters and communications, do that. It's on the website. We will be pushing communications out regularly. If you also go on our website, all of our contact information is available. So if you have a particular question and you want to forward it to anyone here on staff, we are all still available, mostly working from home, but able to return messages pretty quickly. So with that, I will close off the webinar. Everybody stay safe, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you.